And welcome everybody to the very first episode of Entering the Unknown podcast. My name's Adam.
I'm Todd.
There you go. But did I come in? Did I come in a minute late or something like that for you to hear me? Or
No, you're coming in fine on my end.
all right, no, that's cool. But no, so very happy about doing this. It's been a long time in the making for us. Switching over from, well, I guess we're still going to do the Spotify thing. You're going to be trying to work that one out on your end. And we're switching over to YouTube for the very first time. So
Yeah, so we're doing live right here on YouTube and we're doing it live on Spotify at the same time.
no, that's awesome. Yeah, because I was always going to wonder how that was going to, play out because we had a little following over there with the Spotify, the Castbox, iHeartRadio, and a few other ones, the Apple Podcasts, even the Amazon Music I was seeing on there. And even all around the world, what was it? India, Australia, parts of Africa, Germany, and Ireland, and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool that we actually reach to people all around that area. So very, very awesome.
Very awesome indeed.
Well, so you just got back from your trip. How was it out there? I mean, did you get to go do any looking? You went to Washington, correct?
Yeah, I went to Washington, north of Everett, or right around Everett. Took one trip into the woods. There was still too much snow in the woods right now.
Yeah.
It rained a little bit every day. Temperature was at least 10 degrees warmer than it was here. It was nice. It was very nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have no complaints other than airfare, or not airfare, but the airlines.
Well, what is it? Like the seats get smaller or something like that? They can pack them more. I haven't been on a plane in forever.
Yeah, I haven't either. Well, it's been a couple of years, but last time I flew was first class. This time I flew basic class, whatever that is, and I had to sit in the jump seat right above the wing for the emergency exit, so that seat doesn't adjust, and it sucked. I mean, that's all I could say was that whole flight, it sucked. And I told myself, I'm not flying in that same seat on the way home. And I made sure of it when I got my second day in after recovering, I should say. A guy with a bad back and an old man shouldn't be flying in that seat.
Yeah.
So I told them that, and they put me in a better seat.
No, that's good.
They gave me a seat that there was nobody sitting between me and the other guy. So it was really nice. So I could stretch out.
I think one of my worst experiences when I was flying was when I was in the Navy, and I went from Pensacola, Florida to Dallas, Texas, from Dallas all the way up to around Seattle, Washington, or something like that. Whatever airport's close by there. And then from there, we flew all the way over to Japan. So we had to fly like along the jet stream and everything along the Russian coastline and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And it was so horrible. I sat next to this one guy. He was just airsick the whole time. And yeah, believe it or not, we got like a few meals while we were on this flight because it was so long.
Yeah.
And I finally had to say something to him because even when I was sitting there trying to eat, the guy was sitting there yakking into a bag. And I'm like, dude, for real? It's like
there's a bathroom, use it.
And like every time you do it, he'd be looking over at me while he's puking in the bag. I'm like, well, come on, man. Yeah, I finally I lost it on him, because I didn't sleep that good at the VSO the night before. And
Right.
all the beds were taken, so I was kind of just like leaned up against the wall, with my pack behind me, just trying to get what little bit of sleep I could get. So yeah, that was probably about the most horrible experience of flying that I could say I had. But no, for tonight's first episode, I thought that we talk about everybody's favorite cryptid, the good old Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
Mm-hmm.
Skookum, whatever you like to call him, because it has so many different names.
Right.
So, just to give a brief background on us. Sorry about that. I'm a little, I don't know. My mind's racing forwards and all kinds of different directions. What I want to say right now, but to give a little background about us, if you haven't heard us on Spotify or any of those podcasting platforms yet, where we have talked about our experiences, we do have experiences in our own encounters at one point, and I have been very vocal about this online. If you have talked to me through Facebook, TikTok, or places like that, or on other people's channels, at one time I was the biggest skeptic in this subject. You could not tell me that Bigfoot existed. I was probably one of the biggest assholes, excuse my language on that, but since then, I guess it was one of those good old tricks that, fate kicked in. Would you like to say that? Here, let me show you.
I call it the slap of Mother Nature.
There you go. That'd be a better one. It's like, okay, the good old FAFO, F around and find out. Yep. It ended up happening in 2018, and what I would like to do, Todd, is as it starts warming up, I would like us to actually go to the places that we had our encounters and everything, so we could show the audience of where it all happened, how it went down, and give a clear look at everything. So there was a few things going on at this one house. It was which I'll get into more on a different episode, because there were some paranormal things and stuff going on, but something happened to where it kind of piqued my interest. This is the first time living in the country. I'm in the North Woods of Wisconsin. And if something's going to happen, it's going to happen here. But it didn't happen right off the bat. It actually happened the following year in 2018, when we were staying with my father-in-law. And what I thought I heard was some fish getting busted in the water. And so, since I'm from South Florida, a big time fisherman and everything, I always like watching that, like bait getting tore up by bigger fish, just watching it all go down and happen. So I grab my flashlight, I run out the door, I go across this little dirt driveway down this small little berm, and I click that flashlight on, and there you have it. Like, crouched, yeah. Light hit right on him, and I was like, holy shit. I was standing there with my flashlight, and I was sitting there shaking, and I was stood there frozen. I had so many emotions going through me. It scared me to the point where I damn near pissed my pants. It was just like, holy shit. Like, that's how much of a shock it was to me. I could see its face, arms, skin, the wrinkles on its face. But what freaked me out the most is when it flipped its lip up towards its nostrils, and I got to see its teeth. And when it turned and looked at me, like how everybody always talks about these things, how they don't have any neck, it turns its shoulders and everything to look at me. And when it flipped its lip, and that's what really freaked me out. And I was like, oh my God. But I got to see how incredibly fast these things are too, because the one I seen, how everybody talks about, they usually in the range of 7 foot to 10 foot, that's pretty safe to say, correct?
Yeah.
The one I seen, with my shoes on, I'm probably about 6 foot, almost 6'1" with my shoes and boots on. The one I seen was probably around 6'4", 6'5", and it wasn't one of those big, huge ones. But don't get me wrong, the thing was built like a brick shit house, like an NFL linebacker too. These things, they're pretty lean. They got muscles, everything. When it got back into, because it was on the other side of the creek, the cattails and everything, it was kind of like a swampy area. When it got back in there, it was like boom. It was like a flash,
Yeah.
But the intelligence these things have on it. Every time I'd flick my light off, I'd hear it start walking bipedally on two legs. I click my light on to where I thought where it was at, it would immediately stop. Turn my light off, hear it starting to walk more. And what the thing was doing was coming around to where it was like a shallow part of the creek. And that's where I noticed it, like almost like it was going to flank me, for everybody that's been out there in the military. It was flanking around to my right hand side, and I noticed it. When I noticed that, I snapped out of it. I was like, okay, I got to get back inside. I mean, I tore ass right back into the house. I started throwing everything in front of the doors. I mean, that's how bad it really freaked me out. I was throwing chairs and stacking things up. It really freaked me out. Made sure all the doors are locked. My wife goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "If anything comes through that door, you run upstairs immediately. You get your dad. You tell him to come down and start shooting, because that's what I'm going to be doing down here." But luckily, nothing like that did happen. But I do think they did. That's why I want to take you to the house, because I don't know what parts of the people, whenever they do see this video, where they're from, but down in Florida, it's always those single story houses. Occasionally you do get the 2-story, but up here, it's weird that bottom story, especially if it's built into the
basement,
to the ground. Yeah, but it would be considered the basement, but the first level. But that's also where you can walk into. That's where we were staying. So the second level, was up higher, and that was the main living space.
Okay.
But it was off the ground. So that's why I kind of want, hopefully we do get permission, because it's back on 5 acres of land. Which was what was pretty cool about this was about 2 weeks ago, since we just started up our TikTok account, and actually we're doing really great on there. We're getting a good following, dude. So hopefully, they can come over and check us out over here on YouTube.
Thank you, TikTokers.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Actually, we're getting close to 800 followers. We just started it up and everything, so we're really doing good over there. And I mean, it's still a low number, but I'm kind of an older man. I think that's a good number. That's what we're doing, and every day we're slowly getting higher and higher. But what was I saying? That's kind of why I want to, Oh, so I was on one of the accounts that I follow over there, and there was this guy talking about Lac de Flambeau. And that's kind of right where in the general area I was at, was in Lac de Flambeau, but it was still considered Minocqua, Wisconsin at the same time. But you got to drive through the reservation, on reservation lands, to get to this house. And it used to be called Squaw Lake. Since then, it did change to Amber Lake, just like the roads as well, because I lived on some East Squaw Lake Road. Huh?
Maybe you shouldn't be disclosing this.
Yeah, I've already said it before, and you got to kind of go to the right area. But since then, they had to change the names and everything. But this guy was like, I was probably only about 10 or 15 minutes away from where you lived. And he goes, I also had an encounter. I was like, oh, no shit. I was always wondering if other people have one around there, because I know there just wasn't one. What I seen was one of the smaller ones. The big boy, the alpha, when me and my wife heard that one walk through the creek before I had the actual sighting itself, I mean, when the thing put its foot down in the water, it was like thunder. It was like thud, and you could just hear it when it was lifting its leg out with all the water dripping off of it. And before it did walk across the creek, we were noticing this cutout in the yard where it leads back towards the lake and the lake house, in the garage back there. It was just big, huge black silhouette just standing there staring at us. And my wife goes, do you see, does it look like someone's standing over there? I was like, yeah, it does. I see what you're talking about. when she said that, she started turning around to go inside the house. I caught movement off to my left. I looked, and that's when I found out these damn things whistle. So it's pretty amazing when you hear that as well. But man, did my hair stand up. I did not know these things could whistle. I didn't even know about all the lore behind it of you're not supposed to whistle at night, you know?
No, you're not supposed to whistle in the woods.
Yeah.
Period. Especially at night, but yeah.
Do you know the whole more reasoning behind that? Why they do say that?
Because Bigfoot, that's how they communicate back and forth. Whistles, knocks, and the occasional hoot and holler.
The scream like how you heard before.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think that scream wasn't. It was meant as communication. It was meant to scare us the hell out of there, and it actually worked. You know.
Can you kind of go over that one real quick so people get an understanding, like your background on this whole subject?
Okay. Well, let's say this: my first encounter with Bigfoot was in June of 1976, when after I graduated that month, graduated from 8th grade. Me, one of my classmates, and one of his stepbrothers went camping. And the next morning, after having a fire all night, attempting to get drunk on a case of red, white, and blue beer, it didn't work. But we had pee a lot, right? So the first thing in the morning, I got up before everybody else did, crawled out of the tent, and was standing on this rock because we were camping on this little island off from the boat launch on this lake. And I was peeing, and I got this feeling I was being stared at. So I stopped looking at my pee stream, started looking at the shore, and I saw this big, tall thing standing there watching me pee. But I finished peeing real quick, jumped back in that tent, and never told anybody about it until years and years and years later. At least 40 years later. But another time, we weren't even Bigfoot hunting. We were down at the mouth of a small stream that we fished called Maple Creek. And it was after dark. And me and my youngest brother were sand canyoning rocks out into the lake, which you dig into you dig into the bank, and you dig it in about 2 feet and about not anywhere near the top, towards the bottom, on an angle pointing up. And you dig a hole going down through the back, cut to the top, just a little hole about the size of a soda can. And you start a fire in there. You get a nice fire going, nice coal base. You go out into the lake and you grab these rocks, the big rocks, about the size of somebody's head. You shove it down in that hole on that pile of coals, and it explodes and launches rocks out into the lake. Pretty cool. Along with fire comes shooting out too, because you get the fire from the coals and that.
Yeah.
We were doing that till probably about 11 o'clock at night. And we decided to go back before our flashlights died, because we had the old Makita work flashlights. It took the 9-volt battery, rechargeable battery. And we started walking back to his truck, which was about 1.5 miles inland from the shore. And there's this trail we were on, and it goes up this real steep hill, and then it's a flat spot. And then we're on that flat spot walking back, and we're about 1/4 mile at the most from his truck. And something lets out this howl. I've never heard anything like this. And I've been to many zoos, and I've been around the world. I like exploring nature. But this thing was so loud, you could feel it. You could feel it inside of you could feel it was like almost like your internal organs were vibrating. It was just like in you. Wow. We both looked at each other. And now, mind you, our flashlights died halfway on the way back. So we had no light. And we're going off of just with a tiny little bit of starlight's coming through the tree canopy that we could see this trail we're on. And the good thing was because the trail where we were on at that point was the widest part of the trail, which was like about a 2-track road width. And we both looked at each other and we could see each other's eyes. That's how wide our eyes were. He looks at me and goes, "What the hell was that?" I don't know. And he's like, and all I see is ass and elbows going down, disappear into the darkness, going towards his truck, leaving me in a cloud of dust. And I'm like, I'm sitting here for a second, and I look back over. I'm looking in the woods trying to see if I could see anything. Well, it's dark out. I can't see nothing. And pretty soon I got that. I better get out of here because whatever that was sounds bigger than me. And I took off running too. But I've never heard anything that loud coming out of nature other than a car horn, truck horn, one of those air horns, you know. And it lasted a good minute. I can't even imitate it. I'm not even going to try. I don't want to strain my vocal cords. Whatever it was, sounded large. Sounded like it had good lung capacity.
Yeah.
And other than that, you know, I mean, I've been kind of near there on the shore of Lake Superior in the middle of winter when I heard what sounded like a tree exploding, like a large crack against a tree. It was so loud and it was just me and my best friend down on the shore. Down the shore, well, we were by the boat ramp, put it into Lake Superior. And I looked at him, he goes, "What the hell was that?" That was a tree knock, you know? That's the first thing I thought. It's a tree knock. Well, I got to later on thinking, because it was really cold that day. It was at least 20 below zero.
Yeah.
It could have been a tree exploding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very rare to hear, but they do that when they got enough moisture in them. And then when it gets so cold, they explode. Or it could have been, like I said, a tree knock. And if it was a tree knock, and if it was a tree exploding, it was on a section overlooking that park that not many people go by or even can get to.
I know what you're talking about. Up on that bluff you're talking about over by there.
You're coming down towards Black River Harbor, and you know.
Yeah.
As you're making that descent down to the parking lot, off to the right, there's some ridges. There's 2 ridges right there.
Mm-hmm.
On one of the furthest one back is the one that comes the furthest towards the park. That's where I heard it come from.
Yeah.
You know, really dark up in there. I mean, not just spooky, but it's dark. You know, it's big, huge, gigantic pine trees. You know, what do you call it? You know, non-harvested firewood. You know, non-harvested trees. These are first growth, pristine forest. And what a better place to live for something Bigfoot to live underneath those, because they don't get much snow up there because the leaf coverage over the ground, and it's right by the lake.
Yeah.
For some weird reason, that's where all the deer head too. They head towards the lake in the wintertime. But yeah, it was enough to freak us out. Another time, we were driving down this dirt road, an old logging road, which we call grades up here. We stopped to take a break because we were looking at these rocks on the side of the road. It's me and the same guy. You know him, Nip.
Yeah.
Same guy. We're looking at these rocks. They're lined up on the side of the road from large, which is about the size of a muskmelon or honeydew melon, down to the size of maybe of a tennis ball. But there's like 10 rocks lined up down the road, side of this dirt road, in size, from large to small. That's not natural. That means somebody had to sit there and literally place those there.
Yeah.
On the side of a dirt road. Now, I find that hard to believe that somebody did that. So while I'm looking at that, a tree branch, a sapling about that big in diameter, which is about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches. And no, that's not the white power sign. That big, okay. It's bends down in front of my vehicle. Beep, it bends down like this and comes right back up in slow motion, like beep, like that one time, and comes back up. Trees don't bend over like that naturally.
Oh no.
But excuse me, I never got out to see what it was. I don't know why I didn't. I had a camera right there, and I don't know if it was caught on my dash cam either, but it probably was. But I never looked. It's probably been recorded over since.
What did Nip do? When did he see it?
Yeah, he goes. He looks at me, and I look at him. And I go, "Guess what that is?" He goes, "I don't know. It's probably a baby Sasquatch sitting on the other side of that clump of bushes there." I said, "That's what lined these rocks up right here."
Yeah.
I said, "Young Sasquatch or something," because we weren't near somebody's camp. There was nobody around. We were the only people on that road at that particular time. That dirt road runs for about 12 miles between two towns, two outskirts of two towns. And it's near where I've had most of my Bigfoot encounters, all in that same area.
I was about to say that I know exactly where you're talking about. And even before you took me out to these places, I actually hunted out by there for birds and stuff like that. And these places that you're talking about, they don't give you the good feeling while you're out there. Like every once in a while, it'd be okay, but all of a sudden you'll get like that really heavy feeling of somebody is just sitting there just watching you. And you're like, nope, something's not right. That's usually when I feel that is when I start going back towards my vehicle,
Well, that particular area there's been mountain lions spotted there.
Yeah.
So that's the feeling I'm always assuming that some mountain lions probably staring at me. Never think of Bigfoot. I mean, I've camped there. I've had Bigfoot encounters there several times in my life. Friends of mine have had Bigfoot encounters there. And when I walk through the woods, I find weird things. Like one thing looked like a big bed, like something made a big bed. Could have been from somebody either camping or it could have been from a Sasquatch bedding. Made out of pine boughs. About 8 feet by 6 feet. Pretty big to put it on a tent, for underneath a tent. And I found something digging into stumps, which we know black bears do. They look for grubs and termites and ants and whatnot to eat.
Yeah.
So the Sasquatch, and I found that out there.
Even porcupines, a lot of people don't know. They'll sit there and tear the bark off the trees and things like that. And see, I'm glad that you brought that up about what you said. You said, hey, it could be somebody camping, or hey, this could be black bears and stuff like that. When me and you go out into the woods, we still hold some kind of skepticism when we do go out and research and stuff like that.
You have to. You can't just, I've in the past just automatically blatantly said, "Whoa, that's a Bigfoot did that," Made me feel like a fool later on when my brother posted it out. Says, "Hey, look, you could be wrong. More than likely you are." It's like
exactly. You got to look at it from every angle and sit there and be a detective on it, because not everything is going to be a Bigfoot. Now, you get a lot of people out there that will even sit there like how black bears rub up against trees, porcupines tear off the bark, or even you got deer, elk, and moose. They'll sit there and rub their antlers on, trees and stuff like that. A lot of people even look at things like that and be like, "Oh man, check this out." It's like, yeah, but there's a simple explanation for things like this, and those are the kinds of things I look for as a hunter, because even when you start seeing things like that, you'll start seeing scrape marks around the area and a rub line and stuff like that. But I mean, we never come up with the absolute conclusion of this is absolutely 100% without a doubt a Bigfoot did it, without really going over stuff. I mean, we look at it
at the time that we found those tree structures by where you were bow hunting.
Yeah.
Those they could have been by nature, but very seriously, I doubt it. They weren't big. They weren't that big. So, they weren't like the kind you see on TV or on TV shows on YouTube or whatever, where they're, 5 feet tall. So those ones were no taller than 2 feet.
Yeah.
So
Okay. You're talking about
and the footprints in the grass. We could have automatically said, well, that's a Bigfoot, but there was no actual evidence that it was a Bigfoot. It was a footprint. But we couldn't tell what it was.
Yeah, because later on we walked up and we actually got way off the beaten path and we found some kind of it could have been like a homeless person's camp.
Yeah.
It was empty at the time, but it could have been a person like that walking through there at that time.
Or it could have been like we thought it could have been a druggie place, where they were making drugs out in the woods.
Exactly. And I guess the one place we're out, it is known for that. I've heard by a few people that yeah. But what you were just talking about, the tree structure, oh man, that the one I found where it's the big X going into the ground, that one was wild. And
that was deliberate, either by man or by beast. They didn't want you to go beyond that point, and it's blatant.
Exactly. I mean, and they weren't small sticks either. I mean, they were big, round trees. But we looked up top above them just to say, hey, could they have fallen off the top of the tree? And coincidentally land like that, but hey, you got to look at that and analyze it.
Yeah, you have to.
We didn't see anything broken off from the trees above us. And then directly right next to that was 4 trees that were bent and twisted all the way over into the ground. Mm-hmm. So that
exactly like each other. They were like exact. Each one of them was exact.
Yeah, that was really wild.
And that was amazing.
The thing about that area is I learned to stay away from that place because whenever I would go near it, that's when all those bad feelings of being watched. I've heard screams come from that direction. The tree knocks come from that direction. Everything. I just avoided that place like it was the Black Plague, man. When I would come out to that power line opening, I would bust a right and go down towards that, the opposite direction to go hunting. And eventually I got away from hunting that area, but you were the one who got me to go back out there. It freaked me out really bad my first year. I did not want to go back out there. I took your advice on what to do. Do you hear?
I just heard something, but I don't know what it was. Sounded like a child in the background.
Yeah, I heard it through my headphones. Oh, I know what it is. Do you got a speaker turned on? It's me coming back through it.
Yeah, I got my speakers on for my system.
That's what I'm hearing.
Otherwise, I won't be able to hear you.
Oh, okay. Trying to think of what I was about to say. Okay, so yeah, it was because of you that got me to go back out in this area. It really freaked me out really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I
went back out there armed to the teeth so you'd feel comfortable. So
yeah, in the next hunting season, I would go out there and I would do what you would say and sit there. Hey, it's me. I would sit there and just like talk into the air,
Right.
But it did kind of make me feel a little bit better. But I'm not going to say, I always went out there because there was a couple times where I got such a bad gut feeling as I was walking back there.
Yeah.
I was like, I shouldn't go any further and just go back to my car. And if you
you should always follow those gut feelings.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. And if you're ever out there in the woods and you get that gut feeling of just feeling like that and it's just not getting any better, just listen to yourself. Your body is using its senses. It's telling you not to go any further. Maybe something bad might be up the pathway or right off to the right or left of you. So always listen to that gut feeling. The one of the things that we were talking about earlier, I do not remember when I had my encounter smelling anything. And we had a discussion with a few people, on this. We don't know if it could be used for mating, like a scent for mating to attract a mate. Could it be something like how natural defense, like how skunks will let off and other animals? Or even a warning of, hey, you're getting too close, and it's just letting off that foul rank odor.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, my first time, I was too far away to smell it. Second time, I was within 20 yards of it. And I did smell something, but it didn't smell that strong, like enough to make you gag. But it was overbearing.
Yeah.
And like smelling a dump from afar.
Is that what it smelled like to you? Like a dump?
No, well, it had this funky odor to it that I'm trying to remember exactly what it smelled like a wet animal. And an animal that doesn't bathe much, like like the wet dog smell. That's the wet animal smell that everybody refers to.
Yeah.
But this smelled, I don't know if you've ever smelled black bears in nature. They got a funk to them that's just, oh, it's musky as all get out. It's nasty. It kind of smelled like a cross between dog, wet dog, that musky smell, and something else I could not to this day cannot put my finger on what it smells like. So yeah, it could be a dump smell.
A lot of people talk about like that, like blood or rotting flesh smell as well as smelling with it is the company along the line. So like how you said with the wet dog and everything, like a mixture of everything.
Dead bodies. And no, it doesn't smell like death. Doesn't smell like rotting, decomposing bodies. That smell is in a category all by itself.
Yeah.
You can't. It doesn't smell like that. But that's what they associate a really horrendous stench with. That's what you go with, right?
Yeah.
And I've smelled it and not seen anything, and I could smell it. So obviously I was in an area, whatever it was, rubbed up against a tree next to where I was standing, and I could smell it. I've smelled that, but I smelled bear like that occasionally, and decided to stay back. And sure enough, I spotted a black bear in 20 minutes later, It's like, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if they can do it at will. I honestly think they can. Because like you said, there's those that do and those that don't smell it.
Yeah.
And I think they can vary the smell, how pungent it wants to be, depending on the scenario, maybe. That's one of my theories anyway.
No, I mean, and there's really no right or wrong answer. I mean, because but before we get off into me reading some material, I really like what we're putting out there for people because I want people to understand where we're coming from on this subject. Like we're just not bullshitting you here.
No, we're telling you what we've know. We're not ad-libbing. We're not lying to you. We're telling you the straight facts.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we started our podcast in the beginning. And that is still true. We want to help as many people as possible. We want to talk to you about it, talk you out of that fear, get you back out in nature and enjoying, nature. You can go out in nature and not have to worry about this thing because it depends on where you go. It depends on what you do. But it's just like you're going to run into deer everywhere you go or whatever. It's like where we live, there's always deer, right? It's part of nature. Yeah. Well, they're out there too, but they prefer, in my opinion, they prefer to be out at night. And most people don't have to worry about it if you're out in the woods during the day. These things are probably more likely staying far away from where humans are sleeping. That's my guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've had encounters both day and night to say that, so I can't honestly say, but I honestly think they prefer to be lounging during the day.
Yeah.
Like when that rock got thrown at me. They had to be back in there in that clump of tag elders napping. because that's kind of like, I don't know. That's just what I think. I don't have any evidence.
And of course, we always say there's no experts here. I keep hearing myself in your speaker.
No, that's what I used to hear every time ever since you moved away when we were doing the show. And I don't think the show's going to come out either because you're not coming through the microphone good enough.
No, I'm going to go ahead and start getting into a story here. This is one you never heard. And I'm surprised you haven't heard it. William Rowe. But before I get into there, oh man, that background noise, it's screwing me up, dude. That's all I keep hearing is me background talking.
Well, let me do something about that.
Well, first, before I get into the William Rowe, I don't hear it now.
Yeah, I know. I just stopped the Spotify recording.
One of the oldest known accounts is actually from 986 AD. And you know who was that by, right?
Eric the Red, or Leif Erikson. Or whatever.
Yeah, Eric the Red's son, Leif Erikson. The oldest known account of Bigfoot was recorded in 986 AD by Leif Erikson and his men. During their first landing in the New World, Norsemen wrote about a man-like beast that were horribly ugly, hairy, with great big black eyes. Among his accounts, Leif told of seeing huge hairy men who towered over him and his men. The huge hairy men, according to Leif, lived in the woods and had a rank odor and deafening shriek. So there you go. It's like this is back in 986 AD. They're talking about that rank odor, tall, big, hairy, and even talking about the sound they let off with the shriek and everything, or scream, however you want to say it. It goes down to say, it should be noted that Leif Erikson and his men described the huge man-like beasts were loud and foul-smelling, clearly distinct from native peoples, apparently. Leif had several sightings, let me scroll down here, of the huge hairy men before departing the island. He called this creature a skill ring. I guess that's people. The Norse way of saying that, of like the term of what it means, is a barbarian. So Skellring, skill ring, if I'm saying that correctly. And I don't want to screw that word up too much, but I mean, that's going back to 986 AD. That's a very long time ago.
Yeah, that is.
But still right there, because the reason why I'm bringing this up is just like how it says, let's talk Bigfoot and the uproar about the Patterson Gimlin footage. Later on in the episode, we're going to get into that. But I wanted to go ahead and present a few things before that. That's why I wanted us to talk about what happened to us. Plus in I think it's 1957 with the William Rowe. Check this out. This guy did a sworn affidavit and everything of when he told about his account. Like, this is like, his way of hand to God or hand on the Bible, Scout's honor, all that good stuff, swearing on his family. But, doing a sworn affidavit, it's like, you put a lot on the line, with your credibility and everything when you're doing this. So check it out. It starts off, ever since I was a small boy back in the forest of Michigan, I have studied the lives and the habits of the wild animals. Later, when I supported my family in the northern Alberta hunting and trapping, I spent many hours just observing the wild things. They fascinated me. But the most incredible experience I've ever had with the wild creature occurred in a little town called Junkesh, British Columbia. Hopefully I didn't screw that up too bad. And that's about 80 miles west of Jasper, Alberta. I had been working in the highway near Junkesh for about 2 years. In October of 1955, I decided to climb 5 miles up the Mika Mountain to an old deserted mine just for something to do. I came inside the mine there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. After an easy climb, I had just come out of the patch of a low low brush into a clearing when I saw what I thought was a grizzly bear in the brush on the other side. I had shot a grizzly nearly in that spot a year before. This one was only 75 yards away, but I didn't want to shoot it because I had no way of getting it out. So I sat down on a small rock and watched with my rifle in my hand. I could see a part of the animal's head and on top of one of the shoulders. A moment later, it raised up, it stepped out into the opening. Then I saw it was not a bear. This, to the best of my recollection, is what the creature looked like and how it acted as it came across the clearing directly towards me. My first impression was a huge man, about 6 feet tall, almost 3 feet wide, and probably weighing somewhere near 300 pounds. It was covered from head to foot with dark brown, silver tipped hair. But as it came closer, I saw it had breasts, and it was a female. Just like how we see Patty in the Patterson Gimlin film, you know? And this is kind of like I should have downloaded it. That's kind of his description of when he drew it out of what it looked like to him, just so people could get a reference to it. And yet its torso was not curved like a female. Sorry about that. Not curved like a female's. Its broad frame was straight from shoulder to hip. Its arms were much thicker like a man's arms and longer, reaching almost to its knees. Its feet were broader proportionately than the man's, about 5 inches wide, and at the front of the and tapering to much thinner heels. Then it walked in its place, the heel of its foot down first, and I could see the grayish skin or hide on the soles of its feet, almost like how you're talking about with the Patterson Gimlin film, how we see that as well. It came to the edge of the bush. It was hiding within 20 feet of me. It squatted down on its haunches, reaching out on its hands and pulled the branches and brushes towards it and stripped the leaves with its teeth. Its lips curled flexibly around the leaves as it ate. It was close enough to see that its teeth were white and even. The shape of the creature's head somewhat resembled what they used to call a person of color back in the day. I don't want to plort that on here because I don't need YouTube to actually censor me on that one for our very first episode. The head was higher and to the back at the front. The nose was broad and flat, and the lips and chin protruded further than its nose. But the hair that covered it, leaving bare only the parts of its face and around the mouth, nose, and ears, made it resemble an animal much as a human. None of its hair or even back of its head was longer than an inch, and on its face was much shorter. Its ears were shaped like a human's ears, but its eyes were small and black like bears. Its neck also was unhuman, thicker and shorter, and only a man I have ever seen. As I watched this creature, I wondered if some movie company was making a film at the place that saw was an actor made up, looked partly human and partly like an animal. But as I observed it more, I decided it would be impossible to fake such a specimen. Anyway, I learned later there was no such company near that area, nor in fact did anybody live in the Mica Mountain, according to the people who lived near June Cache. Finally, the wild thing must have gotten my scent, for it looked directly at me through the opening in the brush. A look of amazement crossed its face. It looked so comical at the moment I had to grin. Still in the crouch position, it backed up 3 to 4 steps, then straightened up in a full height and started to walk away, repeatedly back the way it had came from. For a moment, it watched me over its shoulder as it went. Not exactly afraid, but as though it wanted no contact with anything strange.
Yeah, they don't want to get near any hairless monkeys.
Yeah. A thought came to me that if I shot, I would possibly have a specimen of a great interest to scientists the world over. I had heard stories of the Sasquatch, the giant hairy Indians that lived in the legends of the British Columbian Indians, and also many claim that are still de facto alive today. Maybe this was a Sasquatch, I told myself. I, I leveled my rifle, and the creature was still walking repeatedly away, again turning its head to look in my direction. I lowered the rifle, although I have called the creature it. I felt now that it was a human being, and I knew I would never forgive myself if I killed it. Just as it came
Mm.
to the other patch of the brush, it threw its head back and it made a peculiar noise that seemed to be half laugh and half language, and which I can only describe as a kind of whining. Then it walked from the small brush into a stand of a lodgepole pine. I stepped out into the opening and looked across a small ridge just beyond the pine to see if I could see it again. It came out of the ridge a couple of 100 yards away from me, tipped its head back again emitted the only sound I had heard it make. But what this half laugh, half language was meant to convey, I do not know. It disappeared, then I never saw it again. Kind of comes to the end of there. That's
Mm.
really an amazing counter. So we're going back to 1955. I think he did the sworn affidavit, what it's saying in 1957. Yes. In the sworn, that's when he did the sworn affidavit, was in the city of Edmonton, province, Alberta, the 26th of August, 1957. But his encounter was in 1955.
Okay.
And I got a few more of these and everything else, but I put the link in the description, and
Yeah.
it's from bigfootencounters.com. They have a few good one on there. They got William Rose sworn affidavit, which I just read to you. They also got Albert Otsman, one of your favorite stories, and that's
Yeah.
an incredible story. If you have never heard it, this guy basically was kidnapped for 6 days. He lived with a family of them, and he had to make his escape by giving the tall male one tobacco, and it got him sick, and that's how he was able to make his escape away
Yeah.
after a really, really incredible account on there. But not just that one. I also got the Bauman Story, which was in the Wilderness Hunter that Theodore Roosevelt told about. Basically, break down that one because it's very long as well. Is that there was these two trappers that went out. I swear I thought I could be wrong. I swear I thought they were warned about the area they were going into
They were.
from a Native
There was
American.
three of them, but one of them decided not to go further than they were supposed to, than they were going to go. He
And
turned
that's
around and went back.
and that's
And
the
those
one
guys
that
went to
warned
that
them.
area. They went to the area they should have gone, and their stuff was gone through for several days until they decided they were going to leave. And one of them was going to go collect the traps and whatever they caught, while the other guy broke down the camp. Well, when he came back, the other guy was dead, and his body was crushed. And
I thought his head was decapitated as well. It
it
was ripped
was,
off or
yeah,
something like
but
that.
his
Yeah,
body,
it was
that's why I
very
said his
gruesome.
body was crushed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing with those. They must have been up by the Nahanni Valley, so the Headless Valley. That's like, yeah, I saw a video on that last week, and the guy did not do it justice. He pronounced everything wrong, and that AI was just too much.
Oh, so he kind of pulled me with how I say things sometimes, huh?
Well, I don't know. It's just that I don't know. Some things you can look up, and a lot of things you can ask the computer how it's pronounced, and it'll tell you.
Yeah.
But AI should automatically do that, and it doesn't. It just makes a fool out of itself. And the person who puts out that. Yeah, it's got any more stories? I got a couple here. Nothing story like that though. But
No, I mean, yeah, if you got one to share it, because I'm giving off examples before I get into the topic, what people been talking about all these last couple weeks. And something I don't agree with them. Actually, I lost some respect for some people, which I'm going to leave names out because I'm trying to be a better person in life and not go down that route and talk about people, and actually gained higher respect for others that I didn't like before, but I'm going to take the higher road. I've been trying to be a better person about that in life.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got some facts on Bigfoot and stuff like that. I mean, I had a story here somewhere. I'm trying to find it now. But I can't. Too many books in my freaking way here.
All right, you want to go ahead and get into it? Because another thing that I did put down in the description, and this is a channel that you really got me into, and I really like this guy's channel called Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, I love him.
And over the past couple weeks, since this new Capturing Bigfoot documentary is going to be coming out, it's being shown around select film festivals and everything, and it was supposed to have already been released to us now. Now, I was going to be one of those people that I wasn't going to support this thing in any way because, look, over 60 years, people have been trying to tear into the Patterson Gimlin film for the longest time. And now with this one coming out, what's being said about some people, and especially about, Bob Gimlin, I feel really bad about that because this guy was, 94 years old we looked up the other day? Like, leave that guy alone, man. He's 94 years old. Let him enjoy the rest of his life. He has gone
2 years he's got.
Yeah, let him enjoy it.
There has never been any evidence to prove that they faked this film. And this guy in this new can't call it a documentary. Call it what it is. It's a mockumentary. Some guy just trying to get some money for himself. So he come up with this topic to disprove Bigfoot. And he comes up with some of the cheesiest costume I have ever seen. It looks like it was made from the 50s. It's like there's no definition to it. It's just a hairy freaking suit with a stupid ape head, and it's like, no, that's not what Bigfoot looks like.
Well, it didn't even look like Patty at all. If that's the picture, because like I said, I have not seen the documentary
no
yet.
breast on it.
But what the picture I did see of, suppose the guy who made this documentary, of him holding the suit, it didn't look anything like that. And that's kind of what this guy's going to be getting into with the YouTube channel, the Cabin in the Woods. You showed me this episode, and I went on there. I watched it. I loved it. I was like, this guy broke it down so perfectly. Like, I just agree with everything he has to say. And he comes at you with some facts and stuff like that. That's why I printed off the transcript from his show. But the episode, if you want to, I put that down as a link in the description. It's a little lengthy. It's called Why Capturing Bigfoot Does Not Debunk the Patterson Gimlin Film. And his YouTube channel is www.youtube.com/@cabininthe-woods517. I highly suggest you go watch this full video. And the reason why I printed off his transcript.
Watch the video before this one, watch this one, and watch the one right immediately after it. There's 3 videos that tie in together, and that covers it really well.
Yeah, so when I printed off his transcript, I didn't want to say anything or put words into his mouth he didn't say. But, that's kind of, I'm going to be reading off some of the things in what he throws out there. And it just makes so much sense to me in my head. And I fully agree. So I'll go over some things. We'll break down what he says and what we like about it and everything. So check this out. I skip over to 7 minutes, 34 seconds. It says, let's look at these claims and break down one at a time, starting with the main claim, the new footage, again, claimed from the news media, from Bigfoot researchers, from the few people who have actually seen the documentary and posted about it online. Like this guy, Eric, who runs the Hairy Man Road YouTube channel. Seems like a really nice guy, generally good guy, by the way. You should go check out his channel. So he gives him a little shout out there, in which that's kind of what we're doing as well with this guy here on Cabin in the Woods. The same suit, quote unquote, that has shown the original Patterson Gimlin film, identical markings, they say, identical face, identical proportions, identical movements, and of course, again, they are saying it was filmed a year earlier. So I guess they have a piece of film that was recorded a year or earlier that Roger Patterson was going to be using as like a recreation, but all of a sudden, I find it weird that this thing is just getting brought up now, over 60 years later. Now this film is surfacing. Now this suit is surfacing. So let me go further in what he is saying, because he's just it's really gonna make good sense. And all that just listed in the case, then they are right. It would be a damning proof that the first to admit it, but the problem is that we're getting a lot of these repeated claims at this footage is absolutely nails the coffin shut on the Patty film by the people who haven't seen the footage yet. Just like how he says in his video, just like how me and you just said, yes, we have not seen the documentary yet. But there are so many people out there that haven't seen this documentary yet either, that are going out there. Well, Bob Gimlin owes us an apology. And this person said this, and this person said that. It's like, it's all hearsay at this point. Unless you were, a lot of these people have not even watched it. It was supposed to be released a couple weeks ago. I wasn't going to support the film in any way, but you want to know what? For me to give an honest breakdown on it, I'm going to need to watch it and see what they're trying to throw out and present, in which I'm probably going to still think it's all bullshit.
You know what? I got this great idea. And no matter how bad it would be for him, it would be good. It would be good business for him to let us do this, is to critique his film on our channel.
Oh yeah, no, we could sit there and we could
put it up. We put it on, put it up on our channel, and we all have a viewing party and watch this thing. Watch this debacle of a documentary is what I want to call it. I don't think we'll ever get a chance to do that, because guaranteed he's going to be putting it in theater so he can make some money off of it.
He's just like another person trying to piggyback and make money off this film. So let me further.
Showman.
So now we just said by people who have not seen the footage yet. Now I haven't seen it yet either, but I've talked to great detail people who have, and that's why I feel qualified to speak at some point. And this is kind of why I want to use this guy as a reference. He has talked to, he knows some people out there, you know. Right. So here we go. Skeptic who is emotional, invested interest, and prone to go half-cocked. The first person I spoke with in great detail was Bill Munns. You know who Bill Munns is, correct?
Right.
I mean, if anybody's going to have it, and it's going to say it right here. He's probably studied it more than anybody else on this planet, talk about the PG film. Truth told, that he has made the case in the book and in other places that there are a number of very specific anatomical details that are seen in the original film that make utterly impossible for it to be someone who worked. Never mind, I skipped the part. For it to be a costume, given the availability of the costume technology back in 1967. And we talked about this before when we first came out a couple of years ago. Look, you know, what was the film during that time? Planet of the Apes. They couldn't even make a suit that good.
No, and even Les Stroud, when he did his documentaries on Bigfoot in correlation with his Survival Man series, he went to the people that were making costumes back in that day and asked them if they could do it. And they came right out and said, no, wasn't physically possible. Still isn't physically possible.
If there's anybody who would know, it would be someone who has worked in Hollywood in that industry, again, for decades. But the discussion that Bill and I had, it just wasn't based on his experience or his opinion. It was based on firsthand knowledge. See, not only has Bill seen this new previously unseen footage, but he's actually in the new documentary capturing Bigfoot. He was interviewed for 5 hours, and they show him the evidence that they were going to be putting forward in the film, and he's seen it. And he told me exactly what he saw and exactly what he thinks about it. As a matter of fact, Bill actually told me well ahead of time, almost 6 months ago, at the time of the video, that this documentary with the newly discovered footage would be released. He already knew about it then, and he had seen it then. And he knew that it wasn't the black mark on the authenticity of the Patty film that everybody would say that it is. He is bound by an NDA, and he cannot say anymore, but something's coming. Maybe 6 months from now, I'm not sure, but something's coming, and it's definitely going to be the talk. Which he's talking about this film, and it definitely was these past couple weeks,
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I'm going to sweep through the Bigfoot community. People are going to talk about it, and the skeptics are going to jump on and say, yep, yeah, it proves it's fake. It doesn't, but they're going to say that. So here's what actually says about the new footage. Supposed dress rehearsals of the Patty film, he says, quote, it was obviously a suit from the immediate viewing and an average grade suit in terms of quality, not really high in Hollywood level, nothing with muscles or mechanics. He says now that interesting because every expert who examined the Patterson Gimlin film with an open mind says that it was a suit, and then it's the best suit ever. Because Steve, not only in the 1960s, but even up to today. And also, you do see muscles and mechanics details. No suit that era has any right to have. Bill Munns, having seen the new footage in this documentary, says that the suit in the clip doesn't have any of that. But I was confused by this because other people have seen the documentary and says that this newly discovered footage looks exactly like the Patterson Gimlin film. Bill Munn says it doesn't. So I asked him, what gives? Question mark. There's absolutely no question that the same suit was filmed in the Patterson Gimlin footage 100%. It's dark like Patterson footage. It has its breasts like the Patterson footage. You could even see the head in same shape. Bill's response was basically that the similarity between the original Patty film and newly discovered footage was not so much in the two subjects of the film and their looks and their mechanics, it was in their movements. He says whoever was the camera in this newly discovered clip did a very good job at limiting the movements of Patty in the original, right down to the footsteps, lifting the right leg to expose the full sole of the foot. It was a very precise imitation. He says there's the portion that is an exact copy of the Cybercomb 72, which refers to not anatomy. And when you think about it, it's the strongest similarity between the two pieces of footage is how each subject walked, and then applies imitation, not origin. But what about the timeline claim made in this documentary? The idea of the newly discovered footage was shot in 1966, the year before the actual Patterson Gimlin film. Well, as I said earlier, if that's true, then this absolutely is the extremely damning for the Patterson film. There's no way around it. It should definitely be a hoax if that's the case, but there's no evidence that it is, and here is why. The narrative that is pushed in this documentary is the Kodak film stamp on the reel is the newly discovered footage. It's marked 1966, and therefore they figured it's proof that the footage was shot in 1966. But Bill Munns, again, a veteran of the movie industry, explained that it isn't necessarily the case at all. The only thing that the date stamp that mentioned so prominently in the documentary, the 1966 date stamp, the only thing that proves is that the film itself was manufactured. Oh man, it kind of cut out on me. That it was manufactured. I wish I had the thing pulled up. I'm sorry about that. It cut the word out on me. Bill explained that the film of the sort could sit down for years on the shelf somewhere in a warehouse before it ever used. The year the actual film roll was manufactured has nothing whatsoever to do when it was put in the camera and used.
Mhm.
So that was the year the film roll was made. And that's what
Right.
people are seeing is the 1966. Well, that's just
Mhm.
the year of the film when it was made, not when it was absolutely used, is what he's saying. And that's a good point. And see, that's why I love what Bill Munns is saying here is he's bringing his knowledge to the table and say, that doesn't mean that's the absolute fact. And here is why,
Right.
and I love that he's saying that here. Now let's go down here. Think of it like buying a carton of eggs from the grocery store. And let's just say bring the carton home and you look at the expiration date on those eggs. And then a week later, after the eggs has been in your fridge for 7 days, you crack 2 of them into a pan. Well, the date stamped on the carton has nothing to do with the date you crack those eggs. And that's a great freaking example right there.
Yeah.
Because it was on this date here, but this is when I'm using it. And that's pretty much nails it on the head, what he's saying there. And it goes on, so on, so on, so on. And I wanted to bring up those good points. When you have somebody like Bill Munns who has been in the industry for so long, he's featured on this documentary. Yes, he had to sign the NDA, but he was letting, the guy who runs this channel, Cabin in the Woods, know about this for the longest time. He breaks it down, just like how we talked about the carton of eggs and with the film's date. Just because the film was created, and I'm not talking about that's when they went out and filmed. I'm just talking about when the film was created and put on the shelf or whatever you wanted to say or call it. The film could be used 10 years later in 1976, but it's still going to have that 1966 date on there for the stamp.
Right.
That's not absolute damning proof. Another thing that I highly agree with here is just like me, just like you, just like this guy who's on this YouTube channel talking to Bill Munns and everything, how we haven't seen the film, so many people out there haven't seen it either. So you're getting a lot of this. Well, my brother's sister, or no, my brother's cousin's uncle, whatever, best friend said this. Okay. It's just like, have you ever played that game Telephone when you're younger? You're going to start off with something. It's going to go around in a circle, and let's see how much it has changed when it got to the end.
That's what that's called, is Telephone?
Yeah, it was called
something different where I grew up.
Yeah, and I'm sure they did, just like Ghost in the Graveyard and things like that, But I was just trying to use that as a good example. Hey, you want to know what? Okay, this person who was there at the film festival did see it. Now they went and told this person, that next person might change up a few words. So the person next, who hears it next out of their mouth, they're going to hear the way they told it, not the original person told it. And even the picture that me and you have seen, and it had the guy who created this documentary, if that's the suit, the photo I seen, it looks nothing like Patty whatsoever. And even that's how they even broke it down.
It looks like something somebody picked up at one of those crappy ass Halloween stores.
I mean, just for over 60 years, and it seems like every few years we are always going through the same old song and dance.
Exactly.
Well, it's just another person trying to piggyback off the Patterson Gimlin film and make money for themselves on that. Now, later on in this video, another reason why I want you to go watch it, I don't know how true this is, but I believe he talks about Bob Gimlin having some type of like Alzheimer's or dementia, his memory's getting shot. And at 94 years old, I believe it would be. All these years before that, this guy has stuck to his story. It has never changed. It's always the same thing, no matter what conference, anywhere he goes, or whoever visited with him, or whatever video he was on, it was always the same thing. Now, given his age, maybe he has some things like with dementia or Alzheimer's and things going on,
Mhm.
what you're doing is you're confusing this old man at this point.
Right.
Because we
That part
all,
is that guy who's doing this new movie claims that Bob Gimlin's wife claims that it was a suit. And now Bob gone through many wives in his life, and each one of them tried to profit off of their divorce. And I think that's what she's trying to do right now.
it was Patterson's son. Now, I guess there has some division between, because I mean, his son at the age when this film was shot, when his father passed away, when Roger Patterson passed away, I guess his son was 12 years old. Now go back to when this film was shot. Patterson's wife always maintained, hey, this was the real deal, all the way up until she hit a certain age, and now her son's starting to speak up. Well, this guy, I've been hearing around the grapevine, has a little chip on his shoulder.
That's what I hear too.
Living in daddy's shadow. And I'm almost wondering, and I really hope this isn't the case. And if this is the case, I will call you a POS, man, a real piece of shit. Is if you're just trying to make money off yourself, off of it yourself for your dad's work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in your families and everything, but go do your own thing. Like, don't live in your dad's shadow, because I would never want my children to ever live in my shadow. I want them to be bigger and better than me and do all these things that I could never do and travel where I couldn't travel. I want my kids to do that. I want them to be better than me. So I don't want them to sit there and be like, oh, I hate this person. Let me try to damage his credibility because I've been mad at him my whole life. Well, I'm sorry your dad passed away at a young age. And I can't imagine what you had to go through at that time. But don't kick your dad. Man, that's your name too. Don't kick it in the dirt. And don't do it for a handout for some money if that is the case. And I really hope it is. And I'm just saying, I hope it's not. I'm not saying this is what's actually happening. So it's pretty much what I want to get out there about this whole uproar and what everybody's been talking about. And like I said, I'm going to leave some names out of it. There's people that, presented some wonderful, great evidence and things like that. Well, how would you like it if somebody looked and took your footage and said, that's a hoax, that's bullshit? Mm-hmm. Started calling you a liar now after years of, hey, you know what, it was legit, but you know what, let's kick him in the dirt too. And that's like some of those people that have put out that stuff, and they're all of a sudden now talking shit. And I'm like, wow, like I kind of lost some respect. And then there's others that I didn't really like at all, but they came out and the way how they were saying things, it aligned to how I was thinking too. So some newfound respect for those other people.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all I got to put out there about this,
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this guy's just trying to make some money as easily as possible by defrauding somebody who's on their deathbed and whatnot, trying to ruin something that's been proven for the last 60 some years.
Yeah. I mean, people have been trying to tear down this film and they haven't been able to do it yet. I just think this is just, like I mentioned before a couple times, someone just piggybacking off someone else's hard work that they went out and did. Right. Now, one of the things I would like to say is, man, we had some great discussions with people like Richard and Johnny from Sasquatch Unredacted. I'm hearing myself again. Which I would like to give a huge shout out to them. Big thank you with Richard Farabee and Johnny helping us out, getting this channel all started and everything for us, switching over here to the YouTube side of things. So if you guys haven't checked them out, look up Sasquatch Unredacted. go tell them hi, write to them, watch their videos. They put out some great content. Johnny also has another channel, Bigfoot Sasquatch Encounters Brigade, in which he has been throwing out some awesome clips. Man, he's getting the rock throws, like how you got a video of the rock being thrown at you. He's getting all that, the tree knocks, breaking limbs, everything. This guy is even shadows following, yeah, you got to go check that out. So look up Sasquatch Encounters Brigade, and that's Johnny Two Bears that runs that. He just started TikTok as well, man. People are really liking his stuff on there, and it is pretty awesome. So, but what I was saying, we talk to people like that, and they even said it to me as well, because we have great conversations with these guys, consider them really great fans of the show. Man, people are just always they're not going to go out there and put in the hard work themselves. They're not going out there getting the video evidence, getting that. And at the same time, that's something that we need to keep doing, is getting all the evidence that we can, documenting it whenever you can, video, photo, whatever. If you find hair, don't pick it up. Always bring gloves with you and tweezers. Put it in a bag. Do not contaminate that in any way. I wouldn't go pick up any poop off the ground. Because I've seen some pretty big, huge bear shits on the ground. So
yeah, me too. And, and some big piles of shit from hunters too.
Yeah, exactly. When those breakfast sandwiches start kicking in when you're out there, starts turning a gun or two.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I've lost a sock that way.
I almost stepped in a forest ranger pile one time.
But I wouldn't go pick up the dung or anything like that. But hair samples, carry a bag of gloves, a plastic bag, tweezers, things like that, man.
If you are going to pick up the poop, don't pick up the very end of it. Always pick up the very beginning of it. That first turd. That's all you need. That's because that one has got the hair stuck to it. I studied it. I took a class in forensics and evidence procurement. And yeah, the DNA is stuck to the beginning of it. It's not stuck at the end.
Really?
It's not at the tapered end. It's at the blunt end. So
Yeah, see, I'm not highly qualified to tell the difference. Now, I know the difference between what deer poop and stuff looks like from hunting, but I'm looking for the hair samples. I'm looking for, if I can make a cast out of a footprint. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for when I see bends in trees, I'm looking not just for a bend in the tree, I'm looking for the twist.
Yeah.
Because when you see the twist, that's what you want there.
Like that day we saw those two little ladies walking through the woods. Remember all those trees in that one section were all bent that way?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was from a plow truck or if that was done from something big and hairy. Because they were all bent the same way.
Yeah. Because snow would bends them over and stuff like that. So when you get the twist in them, yeah, I keep hearing the speaker again. Give me a second to fix that. You don't hear it?
Nope. I'm not wearing headphones though either.
Oh. Yeah, it's repeating back everything I'm saying right now.
How's that? Any better? Try it.
Yeah. No, I still hear it. Whatever.
Oh.
So when you look for a tree, look for the twist, because you need opposable thumbs to do things like that. And it's going to be bent down.
Be at least 6 feet up.
It's going to be intertwined, things like that. You're going to know when you see it. Right. That's what I'm looking for when I'm out in the woods. So I'm looking for footprints. I'm looking for hair samples. And of course, I'm looking for if I actually see one walking around. And we've talked about this before. People are always looking down at the ground. And remember when we first interviewed Richard, he was even saying this to us as well. And he agrees. People, when they're walking in the woods, they look at the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really looking straight up or anything like that. And these things have been known to climb trees.
Yep, and they nest in trees sometimes.
Yep.
Depending on where the terrain is, in our area, it's really hard to find footprints because it's so rocky soil, very rocky soil. But there are times when you can get footprints, but they're very, very limited. And it's like you said, don't just look down. Have your head in a rotation of an oval. Look up, look down to your sides, look, but don't stay looking down at the ground. You miss more looking at the ground than you do what you'd possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Life passes by too quickly to keep your eyes on the ground. So, yeah, I don't have anything else much to put into it other than you guys like what you see, subscribe, follow, click like. Any questions, please comment. We have no comments this video. Unfortunately, I would love to answer questions, but
well, right even down there where I have it going across the screen, entering the unknown22@gmail.com. There's a few people we got to get back a hold to start setting up some interviews. So in the future, I'm going to have a couple interviews lined up. Hopefully one with Thomas, this other guy, Ryan. And I talked to another gentleman this morning, gave him our email address, and that was over from TikTok. And so I think he's going to be writing us as well, plus the one we already have saved. So we got a few interviews lined up, and I think we might start getting into those for the next couple shows. And then we're going to be going off on other topics that we do cover. We like to talk about UFOs, extraterrestrials, the paranormal,
we got a
cryptids.
comment. Got a comment at on Tracy_Abel.
I know who this
who's
is.
up first. Any TikTok live streams coming? Do you have any live streams going on TikTok? Because I am not a member of TikTok, and you are.
I'm going to be doing some here shortly. I wanted to get all this set up and the account going and us the film here. This is I know who this is. This is my brother. No, you want to know what's cool about him? He was one of the ones that first believed me after I had my encounter, because he would be the first one to ever tell you that how bad I used to make fun about people about the subject. So when I told him, I was so thankful he did believe me, because I was starting to hear all the shit that I used to give people throughout over time. So it was really cool. But yes, Trace, eventually I will. Yeah, see, he did a total 180. Yeah, he'd be the first one to tell you. No, I will be making clips and stuff like that for TikTok, and I want to kind of join both the YouTube and TikTok together, get everybody there.
Yeah, and I think the only way we're going to be able to do this on Spotify too is you're going to have your mixing console up and running at the same time.
Yeah,
I wasn't picking you up on microphone.
Oh,
sorry, folks. If you tried to listen to us on Spotify, I failed. We'll have to try better next time.
But yeah, you can get a hold of us at entering the unknown22@gmail.com. We cover all kinds of topics: paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrials, government conspiracies and programs. Those are fun ones to cover. And people have really been liking that one over on TikTok, putting things up like that.
They really like them alien ones too.
Oh, yeah. Really love the aliens. I love hearing about the UFO encounters, the abductions, all that good stuff. Travis Walton, Betty Barney Hill, all those. Even the
We'd
one
like to hear yours too, folks.
Yeah, so that's how you get
a hold of us. We ain't gonna make fun of you. Who knows? You might even get famous off of it.
All right, so that's all I got for tonight. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. Just thank you all for listening to the end. If you are out there listening, I appreciate it. Come back 2 weeks. We'll have another one for you.
All right. Sounds good.
Guess. I don't know.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.